Why is universal design the only real answer to all the housing issues currently facing us in North America and really around the world? Caveat, this is a really info heavy presentation or video that is for those looking to delve deeply into the subject. We will be following up shortly with a smaller, less dense presentation on the same subject that you could use to start to present the concept to someone. But if you really need information, examples, proof, etc., this is the presentation to study first. And this is being done by the New Brunswick Coalition of Persons with Disabilities. So let us start with the very basic. What is universal design? Well, universal design is the design of products and environments so they can be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or specialized design. So, as per always, there may be small changes needed, but not a full reconfiguration of the unit, the house, etc. Everyone can use UD, which means that it doesn't matter if you're young or you're old, you're a person with a disability, or you're 100% able-bodied at the time. This unit, house, etc. would work. And because of universal design, people who are very different can all enjoy the same home. And that home will be there for all its inhabitants, even as their needs change. And if you know of anyone who's fallen disabled later in life or has a mother or father that then needs that extra supportive housing, and you've tried to renovate a house, it is not easy to do. So why would we not just start building everything out there following the UD format so that regardless of what happens in life, the unit works? There are 7 main principles of universal design or UD. The first is equitable use. So the idea that it's usable by all. Next, flexibility in use. There are design elements that can accommodate variances, preferences, and abilities, such as adjustable countertops, fixtures, styles of painting, etc. Simple and intuitive use. We use very simple design elements so that they fit with all and have minimal need for adaptation. Perceptible information. Design elements that convey important information in a way that can be easily understood by all users. There's a tolerance for error. There's design elements that minimize the potential for accidents and mistakes, like non-slip flooring or barrier-free pathways. Low physical effort. There are design elements that require minimal physical effort to use. So, levers on doorknobs. Whether you have arthritis and it's hard to use it, you've just broken your arm and hand and it's hard to use it, or your hand no longer functions or is gone due to an amputation or a disability from birth. This way you can still open a door. With a rounded knob, you cannot. Hey, you could even be coming home from the grocery store with hands full of your bags. A lever can be used by your elbow. Try to open a knob with an elbow. Very difficult to do. And finally, size and space for approach and use. You need to be able to approach areas, especially if you're using a wheelchair or a walker, in a way that is safe. So the size, posture, assistive devices all work. Universal design is often associated with, something for persons with disabilities, but it's not just for persons with disabilities. And there are some of the more common UD features that fit very well into the aging in place remodels. And that is something that provinces are really working on right now. They want people to be able to age out at home because we just don't have space in the hospitals. We just don't have space in nursing homes. And hell, most people don't want to go to nursing homes. Who can blame them? So this covers off all those issues in one. So for example, we have no step entry as you age. Very important. I'm suffering with a hip issue right now. Completely level flooring, much easier for me than when I have to step up over things. 1-story living, so your places to eat, use the bathroom, sleep are all located on one level, which is barrier free. Now you might say, but we already have a 2-level house. Yeah, but we can take the first floor, which is what they do, and make that barrier free in UD, including a bedroom. And some situations that is going to be enough space for someone to continue living in that household and not needing to go upstairs. And if it works and they can continue to live at home and be happy, what is the issue? Nothing. Wide doorways, so important. We have too many doorways that are less than 32 inches wide, especially with fancy molding. Wheelchairs will not fit through. Even the current, it says 32 to 36 inches, which is about 90 centimeters. Really, we need to look at even extending that because many of the new modern wheelchairs are even larger than that. But we need to be able to get through. If you cannot get in your front door because it's too small, it doesn't matter what's inside the house. Wide hallways. Again, you need to get your chairs down the hallways. A walker walking through with a bag, anything like that. And it allows people to pass through, and you're not banging into things, you're not smashing things, and you're not having to just tear out a wall and leave it vacant because, hoping it's not a support wall because that's the only way you can get through. And extra floor space. So, one, it keeps everything from feeling so cramped, but it allows people that have wheelchairs the space to turn. It allows, seniors maybe that need a reclining chair to lift their legs up, more space to do that. So this previous notion of having so much furniture packed into areas has to go. We make nice big rooms and there's space to move. All important concepts of universal design that will also help our seniors age in place. And since, God willing, we all become a senior someday, let's put this into place now, regardless of your age, so that you can age at home with dignity as well. There are also some UD design features that just make good common sense. And once you live with them, you're going to be like, how did I live without these? Floors and bathtubs with non-slip surfaces. If you've ever slipped just a little bit in the tub and then catch your breath, you know how dangerous that could have been. Let's eliminate that possibility altogether. Because whether you're so-called frail or not, you go down for a good tumble in the tub, you're in trouble. Thresholds are flush with the floor. Again, make it easier whether a person's in a wheelchair, walker, or just so you don't trip and fall. It's just eliminating possibilities for injury. Good lighting. We are on so much technology nowadays that our eyes are getting weaker and weaker. Proper lighting, open rooms allows us to see better and will save our eyes. And again, the lever handles and rocker light switches to make it easier to manipulate. Very, very important. If I have not yet convinced you that UD is important, let's talk about a few reasons that it is so important in housing. Again, it leads to enhanced safety. Do you want to have to take care of your parents because one of them fell and is now severely injured? Do you have time in your life for that? UD will eliminate that. As you age, do you want your kids to have to stop everything they're doing to take care of you? If you don't know someone that's had a hip replaced, go talk about how painful that can be, a broken hip, the surgery and what it goes through. None of it's fun. Let's get that enhanced safety up. Accessibility. 35% of New Brunswickers have a disability. 28% of Canadians have a disability. And those are reported numbers from the age of 15 to 65. They're actually higher. So let's make sure that our housing is universally accessible because you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I know many, many people in their 20s that had a stroke and then had used a wheelchair the rest of their lives. Or like myself, at the age of 49, my whole world changed into severe disability and housebound. And the way your house is built today is so important because somewheres down the line, you're going to need these accessibility tools. And if you wait until that day, trust me, you will be in trouble. It could take years to get it built in. And do you really want to have to drag yourself across the bathroom floor because you use a wheelchair, but you cannot get close to your toilet with your wheelchair? You cannot even get it in your bathroom because it's too narrow. And drag yourself across a bathroom floor to use a toilet. Does that sound like fun in any way, shape, or form? I don't think so. Livability. It allows people to stay at home longer. to not have to go live in a hospital, to not have to go and be forced into a nursing home because the house is not accessible. Additionally, incorporating UD designs principles in housing promotes greater independence and social inclusion for those with disabilities and or mobility issues. By creating accessible living environments, those who require assistance are empowered to live more independently and participate more fully in their communities. Social inclusion is a big part about this. I just want everybody to think back to about week 2 to week 3 of the pandemic when you were isolated at home and what that did to you. You did not have that social inclusion. And when persons with disabilities are placed into housing that is not accessible for their needs, they lose the ability to do any social inclusion because it's just exhausting to get from the bedroom to the bathroom. And you have no more spoons, no more energy left to do anything. And you live in complete isolation, and that is not good for your health nor your mental health. And you can't go visit friends because their units, their homes are not accessible. What would your house be accessible? Would you still have a full life starting tomorrow if something happened and you need to use a wheelchair? You need to look at your unit and think of that. And when your answer is no, it's time to make changes. Okay, so again, you're still sitting there saying, it doesn't apply to me, I don't care, yada, yada, yada. Let's look at a few different groups. Baby boomers. As population ages, more and more people are finding themselves in need of accessible living environments. UD will help ensure that everyone gets to maintain their independence and adapt to changing requirements over time. Again, if you need to go in and level all the floors in your house, you are talking big, big bucks, and you're probably not going to be able to find anyone to do it for years and years. That's no good. Families with children. Adaptable and user-friendly nature of UD makes a better living space for families with young children and those that have different diverse needs within families. It also works great for multi-generational families. Persons with disabilities. UD will eliminate a lot of the obstacles that we face. And that is so important so that we can continue to remain at home with safety, with dignity of choice as to where we live. And for many, it's actually going to remove the barriers from being able to work. And for frequent travelers, it creates a smart, efficient space that is well suited to cater to the dynamic lifestyles of individuals who frequently travel and may require different solutions for their needs. There is nobody for whom universal design does not work. Planning and executing UD adaptations. So these are some of the main ones that you want to look at. You want to widen your doorways and hallways to accommodate any type of mobility device, including something that people often don't think about. Oh, I won't need that. What if you have a heart attack inside your place somewhere and they cannot get a hospital stretcher and the EMT services to help you? That can become a very scary situation. Installing ramps or lifts for easy access. If you have those in before you need them, life is much simpler. Upgrading bathroom fixtures and fittings to include features such as walk-in showers, grab bars, and raised toilets. Adding a grab bar is not as simple as you think. It actually requires pretty much the entire demolition of the area around your tub to properly reinforce the walls behind before you can put in a grab bar. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of cost. It is difficult to do. But if we build units following UD, the behind the scenes is already super reinforced. So you want to add a bar, your contractors will know if you add it between this height and this height, there's all kinds of reinforced wood behind that, and you just put it in, screw it in, it's good. Why wouldn't we do that? There's the idea of lowering countertops and installing adaptable kitchen appliances and modifying lighting and electrical controls. If you lower light switches, not a huge amount, maybe a foot, and you raise plugs, it will make no difference to somebody who is able-bodied. But for many people with disabilities, how many times have you heard of a senior maybe falling, reaching over to plug something in? Or maybe you getting dizzy, a young mom pregnant, all these things that he just makes life so much simpler. Overall, adapting existing housing for UD involves careful planning, collaboration between professionals, and considering the unique needs of the resident. So from the previous slide, you can see trying to take a current house and make it UD is a lot of work. It can be. But what we do know is incorporating UD in new housing developments right from the planning stage is not a lot of work. And contrary to what contractors might say, so that they don't have to change how they're building, it does not cost more. So why wouldn't we do it? Embracing UD principles during the planning and construction of new housing projects is vital for creating truly inclusive, accessible, and functional living spaces from the ground up. Implementing UD at the design stage ensures that all residents, including people with disabilities or mobility issues, seniors, veterans returning from serving in our Canadian forces, all have full access that caters to their needs and promotes true social inclusion. Additionally, early adoption of these principles results in more efficient and cost-effective execution of projects. Very important in this day and age. Now we're going to look at a few of the more specific UD elements that cater to a wide range of abilities and needs. So let's look at accessible and user-friendly entranceways. I often, when I'm doing a presentation on UD, I ask the audience, I say, close your eyes, think of your unit. If you arrived home today in a wheelchair, can you even get to your front door? If there's steps there, no. If there's even so much as a 1-inch raise at the door, no. So can you get to your front door? And if you can, and you can actually unlock it and get in, can you get down your front hallway? So we want to look at level entrances or a gradual ramp, which avoids the needs for stairs. And let's admit it, stairs are a pain in the butt every winter to shovel properly, and then they get ice chunks on them, which makes them dangerous, and then you have to repaint them every year or two because you're scraping them with the shovels. Let's just get rid of stairs. Go to gradual ramps. Way easier. Lever style door handles make it so much better for easy opening and closing. A good example here is not everything that is built simply for disabilities. Lever handles are better for all. Think of grocery stores. The automatic opening closing doors, those were originally created for accessibility for persons with disabilities, but we all benefit from them. It makes it so much easier. You're getting home again with bags full of groceries and a young child in tow. It is much simpler to get in because you know the child is saying, Mommy, I gotta go pee, I gotta go pee. And they're gonna have an accident if you don't get them right to the toilet. A lever style door handle is gonna save you so much hassle. And as you age, so much easier on your hands to open. Visual and audio cues, such as doorbells and knockers, to aid the hearing of visually impaired. And that doorbell could have something that lights up inside. If you put in the right system from the get-go, it is so much simpler. Why wouldn't we do it? The next part is flexible living spaces. So we want adjustable shelving that's very easy to adjust, workspaces, and appliances for different heights and users. Because if you're in a wheelchair, regular countertops are no good to you. They're too high. But if we have adjustable sets, it's very easy to make those changes. Multifunctional rooms, so they could be downstairs the way your living room is built on the first floor. If you needed to change that into a bedroom, it would be very easy to do. And if time comes that you can only live on the first floor, your main floor, you want to have that option. You don't want to try and fit your bed into your kitchen next to the stove, right? That's not convenient. That's not conducive to good living. But these multifunctional rooms work for all. Again, enhanced safety features. We come back to that over and over and over. Non-slip floors and surfaces to stop accidents. Again, that can be from your child running. If you've ever had a child that's run and fallen and smashed their lips and taken out a few teeth, you know what a disaster that can be. My youngest did that and actually broke tiles on my floor. She smashed so badly. Let's get rid of those types of flooring. Well-lit entryways, safer for you, safer for all. If you're going to have staircases, that they're well lit so people can clearly see where things are changing, where steps are changing, so there's no trips and falls. And halls are all better for visibility. Smoke alarms with strobe lights for people with hearing impairments. As we get older, our hearing goes in all of us. Do you ever want to hear about your parents or you as you age inhaling smoke or CO2 because you didn't hear the alarm go off, but you would have noticed strobe lights? Simple, simple change, big, big results. Let's continue on to adaptable and easy to navigate bathrooms and kitchens. Barrier-free showers and roll-in bathtubs with grab bars and shower seating. Huge. At some point later on in life, you're going to need that. Whether it's a day you are out for a long concert series over the long weekend, and Tuesday morning you can barely stand up to shower, then you sit on your in-shower seating and stay safer. You've got the flu, you're just getting over the flu, perfectly able body, but you're not feeling great, but you really want to have that shower to feel clean. This is going to keep you safe. You don't have to worry about what if I fall. Adjustable countertops and workspaces that are going to help all. Wheelchair accessible cabinets, cupboards, and drawers, and that would even include if they're on pull-out tiers, make it easier. There are even kitchen cabinets that we could leave at regular height, and they're on a hinge set that you can pull them down very easily to your height. Why not? Let's build with accessibility and universal design in mind so that as we age, it's already there for us. Assistive technology. There's a lot of assistive technology that we can use for enhanced accessibility. There's a trade-off. You have to decide if you want to use an Alexa or Google Homes, and if they have access to more of your information. But if you have it at least built in so that later on in life, when there's not much of a choice, when it makes a huge difference in your life and you want to use it, it's there to use. Smart home technology that can control your lighting, your temperature, and appliances remotely or from voice commands. You're coming home, it's a super cold day, and you can call in and turn up your heat 15 minutes before you get home. So when you get home, you're not like, great technology, especially maybe if you've got arthritis. So the home you walk into is warmer and doesn't hurt your joints as much. And you want durable, maintenance-free building materials so that you're not always doing upkeep and renovations. That is a huge part of universal design. You can paint the walls to change the style if you want to, but the basics are back to basics, back to strong materials that will hold up over the years. That's what we need. I'm going to continue to repeat myself until you really, really get the message. So let's look at some innovative and popular UD features. Again, at outdoors and entrances, zero-step entrances for easy access. Think about winter, think about ice and snow. Think about your mother coming to visit. Think about walking with your arms full of bags or papers or whatever makes it so much simpler. Wide, non-slip pathways that will work for wheelchairs and strollers and walkers and whatever else you need to bring in. Automatic or motion-activated lighting for your safety. Properly positioned light switches. Again, like I said, we're going to need to lower them. Doorbells and handles at different heights that work for all. And clear and contrasting signage for better visibility. So if your house numbers blend in, not only is that not good for a person with low vision, it's really not good for EMT to find you either in an emergency. So if we keep little things in mind and how we can use contrast and color to really help identify certain features in a house, it makes it safer for all. Again, back to doorways and hallways. Go measure your doorways. Not from the outside, but from where your molding ends inside. If it's not a minimum of 32 inches and you have a friend or a parent that needs to come over in a wheelchair, your doors are going to get scraped. If your door's open and you can't fully open it to a 90-degree angle, You can only measure that to the width that door opens. And people may not be able to get in, or you may not be able to get out down the line if you have mobility devices. Again, we're back to that lever style door handles. Please, no one should be building anything new without a lever style door handle, ever, ever, ever. Clear floor space on both sides of the doorway that allows for maneuvering. We often have so much stuff cluttered in our doorways. Those are all trip and fall hazards for those who are temporarily able-bodied, for those who have got any type of vision concerns. And they are huge barriers for those that use wheelchairs and walkers. So let's have these clear, wide open spaces. Kitchens, the heart of the home. Can you imagine if you could never cook again? Think of your stove, and if you're in a wheelchair and you're at that height, the stove is one of the biggest injury obstacles there to burn you. But if your stove is a little bit lower, it'd be safer, you could still use it. A person in a wheelchair could use it with safety as well. It makes a difference. So we want to have this adjustable height countertops and cabinets, open shelves or cabinets with pull down drawers for easy access. Induction cooktops are much safer in terms of cooking. And under cabinet lighting and pop out countertops for wheelchair users. So they often have countertops that will pull out, or they have, you can even, it's almost like a bread type container. It pulls down. You can close it up to keep your countertops not looking like they're full of items, but as you need it, you can pull it down and pull it towards you, and it will bring the toaster out or the coffee machine out. That would be an important one for me. And the under cabinet lighting, again, for visibility, so that if someone is cutting something, they can see properly, not maybe take half their finger with it. As they're cooking, it's clear. It's just, again, another safety issue. And it will also help highlight other things in the room that maybe there's not enough light in the kitchen to really identify changes in levels, other barriers that exist. Let's just help eliminate those very, very easily. Okay, so as I said, this is a long and information heavy presentation. We're about halfway through. I'm going to ask people right now, if you need to, take 5 minutes, go for a stretch, go for a bathroom break, and then come back. Now we're going to talk about bathrooms. So we want a low or no threshold for easy wheelchair access. So it can be a low, no threshold tub into the sink and countertop area, anything like that. Preferably, we want a curbless walk-in shower with built-in seating and grab bars. And you really need a grab bar near the front in case you are able to partially stand and you want to stand a shower. So you need that near the front, and one towards the side back. So you need a couple grab bars to be completely safe. You need wall-mounted sinks that will allow a wheelchair to roll under it so that you can brush your teeth with easily, use the mirror, do your hair, etc. And comfort height toilets with easy to use push button flush mechanisms, especially on the top. They're at a good height, easy to use, and elevated toilet seats. I really watched this with my mother once she was using a wheelchair, because she has to plop down to use the toilet, and her bottom would end up so bruised at times. It was terrible to see. So by elevating toilet heights, we're making it so much easier for so many people. Wider spaces. You want to have open floor plans and unobstructed pathways. Okay, those open concept rooms, but where you're placing an island or where you're placing maybe a bar has got to be really thoroughly thought out, and that it's not breaking up travel through spaces. You need to avoid tight corners and small hallways. Very difficult for wheelchairs and other mobility devices, and if you have those, they're going to get scratched and ruined and look terrible. Wider is better. And you need storage solutions, because we want to get into this concept of open areas. So good storage solutions such as open shelving and cabinets with pull-out drawers. And again, back to that technology, the smart home technology and the mobile apps, which are going to allow people to control things from where they are very easily. You might be able to say, well, I can get up easily and go walk and flick off the light switch. Yep. But what if you're on a couch and you use a wheelchair? You have to get up and transfer. You need to then roll yourself over to the light switch, flip it off, and go back. And then that dark room for the movie is now hazardous for many people as well. So use that technology. It is there. Make our lives safer, easier, more functional. I promise we're getting closer to the end. Now we're going to look at some examples of universal design in housing, some examples of a room, a specific room. So kitchen design. In a kitchen design with UD principles, every element from your countertops to cupboards need to be usable by all, right? You can't just make one part usable and say, oh, UD. No, it doesn't work that way. So adjustable countertops and shelves that can be lowered to accommodate wheelchair users or raised up for people of short stature. Side and front loading appliances. Wall ovens work well for this. So instead of a wall oven where the door comes down to you, it goes to the side. And if you want, you can just go in online and Google and look up ADA, so American Disability Association, which who knows if it'll even exist by the time you hear this video, but ADA appliances. And that's what they'll come up as. They have a new dishwasher where the rack comes to the side to make it so much easier to load if you're using a wheelchair or a walker to avoid falls, right? So very, very important. Induction cooktops, which can be operated with a simple touch, and these often cool off quicker. So way, way better for people in wheelchairs, way, way better for people with visual disabilities. Glare-free materials. Bright white kitchen counters with loads of light on them, and it's a shiny, shiny material. That's glaring, and that's not helpful to highlight potential barriers. So you want glare-free materials and task lighting, making it easier for everyone to see and prepare food. And these features not only benefit individuals with physical disabilities, but they help seniors. They actually help all members of the family live a better, more enjoyable life. Now we're going to look at bathrooms. Bathrooms become one of the most expensive rooms to renovate if you develop a mobility disability or as you're aging, because many of our bathrooms are long and narrow with the tub and shower on one side, and then the toilet at the back, and the sink and the vanity. And think about that and the fact that if you do not have enough space beside your toilet to turn your chair and park it next to it to transfer, you don't have a usable bathroom. That requires you then, when this happens, to rip the entire thing apart and reconfigure everything, maybe moving water, the whole shebang. So let's build it right the first time. So they pose, like I said, a unique set of challenges due to slippery surfaces, tight spaces. So we want a walk-in shower. Look, everybody loves walk-in showers. And if your kids are younger, they have like these little blow-up tubs that you can use. Kitchen sinks, there's all kinds of options for your children. We want non-slip surfaces. We want a fold-down seat. If you've ever been at a hotel or somebody's house with that and you've used it, you're like, oh, I'd love to have this in my house. Let's just make it no longer an option. It is just how it is, and it is just safer for all. You want wall-mounted sinks and toilets that allow for a higher level of versatility and space efficiency, especially in smaller bathrooms. Okay, automatic faucets and soap dispensers that you just wave your hand under. Touchless. It's more hygienic, right? You know, your kids have just gone to the bathroom and they're literally coated in 1 and 2 on the handles. Not if it's no touch, right? It is also way better for people, you might be 30 and have severe rheumatoid arthritis. If you don't have to turn the taps on, so much easier. It's just automatic from moving your hand, right? They boost the safety profile of the bathroom. They provide a more pleasant experience for all users. they're going to severely increase the resale value of your house. So many journals, including things like the Journal of Housing for the Elderly, say that these adaptations reduce falls by up to 50%. Australia has mandated UD for all homes now. They immediately saw a huge reduction of falls, well over 50%, but they also saw a huge reduction in the amount of people that were requiring knee replacements and hip replacements. So think of the hospitals that we're hearing about that are so overwhelmed in Canada right now. Think if we could eliminate 50% of seniors who are in these hospitals waiting for long-term care beds of some sort, and say, what if they never fell? And take those people out so they could still live at home. Then we remove 50% of those who are getting knee and hip injuries from the crunch, crunch, crunch of the steps and the barrier differences in a house, and we took those out of the hospitals. We would have functioning hospitals. What a thought! What a thought! Think of the money. If you're a government person right now, think of the money that would save you. And way more importantly, think of the dignity that it provides back to everyone. Do you really want to be the person who has to do the help, I've fallen and I can't get up call? And have the EMT come pick you up, you've fallen getting off the toilet, you've fallen somewhere else, and you've been on the floor for a long period of time? Of course not. Nobody wants that. This just is better, safer, and will allow people to stay at home so much longer. Main entrances and passageways. Yes, I'm coming back to them again. Your entrance to your home is the primary point of access, and UD ensures that at least one doorway, but preferably two, because what if there was a fire in your house and it's blocking the one accessible doorway? You want two, but at least one is a wide doorway that will allow you to bring your wheelchair in, and then if the hallway is not right there in front of the doorway, that there is more than enough space in that front entrance to swing your chair and place it so that you can get down the hallway. Okay, very important. All hallways need to be spacious enough for the wheelchair users to navigate comfortably. For parents with strollers, you've taken the child out on a cold day for a walk. You want to be able to get them in without jostling them or moving them from the stroller so they stay asleep. Very important. Automated doors at entrances, as much as possible that you could have a fob or a button to open the door. Very important for people that use wheelchairs and walkers. But again, if you're getting home and you've got the kids in tow and bags of groceries and all that, and you've got a fob that will open your door, think about that. Think about how much easier your life would be. Why not? Non-slip flooring at your entries where people are taking off outdoor footwear is going to stop falls during wet weather, during cold weather. You want curbless entries that will allow for that seamless transition from the exterior to the interior, and they enhance accessibility for people with disabilities and safer and more welcoming for visitors. Now we're going to talk about multi-generational living spaces, because we are seeing more multi-generational families living together. And as families grow and change, living spaces need to adapt. And we do not have the time often or the money or can find someone to do the renovations that are needed in what we see in current housing out there. So by having these flexible living areas that can be reorganized to accommodate different activities or residents, it's going to make a difference. If we soundproof to ensure that any space is quiet as needed, or it could be turned into a bedroom or a den or whatever, or because maybe you're going to have a child or an adult in the house with some sensory sensitivities, migraines, autism, ADHD, and they need a quiet spot that doesn't pick up all that outside noise. What a difference that'll make in your life. Technology integration. Again, back to the smart home systems. Take 5 minutes, look at your phone, do some research, see what exists free, and what can be changed with some very simple light bulbs to make your smart home phones work. Take a look at it. Incorporating these elements into multi-general living spaces allow family members of all ages and abilities to coexist harmoniously. And again, research from Aging in Place suggests that well-designed homes can significantly improve the quality of life for older adults and reduce their need for future accommodations. I'm not going to play this video for you right now, but you certainly can play it. And this is from CMHC, so the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation have become huge supporters of universal design because they see how it is the game changer. This is a short video called Ask an Expert. It talks about shaping an accessible future for all within the housing that we are building now. I highly recommend that you take a few minutes and watch this. You can just Google it, CMHC Universal Design. It's there for you. We're just cruising along now. Here's a link to the CMHC guide on UD. And within this booklet, it's about 40 pages. It gives you information on what you need, where within the house or the apartment building, so that it's UD. I want developers to think for a minute, if you're a developer listening to this right now, where there's apartment buildings going up, being built, you can't build them fast enough. We're already seeing in some communities that there's more and more vacancies. And down the line, based off history, we know that some of the third country refugees will return home if or when their countries are safe again. Some will stay, but numbers are usually only 3 to 5% stay and the rest return. If that were to happen tomorrow, boom, all the wars are gone, the little ferry came and the peace ferry and everything was gone, and a lot of people returned to their native lands, we would have a lot of vacancies. You want your units to be available to the greatest number of people possible. Universal design does that, whether it's seniors, persons with disabilities, social development, housing. This is the only way we should be building from here on in. In fact, to the point that the federal housing advocate, Jose Houle, is a huge, huge, huge promoter of universal design and has now asked for an audit to look into housing, especially federally covered housing, and really would like to see it all only be permitted through UD. So take a look at this booklet. They're doing the work for you. Use it. As we finish up, I just want to address, because sometimes people will say accessible design and they think it's the same as universal design, and it's not. And within this, it talks about some of the differences, because we could have accessible design. Another one is visible design. Some provinces have that built into their building code. 5 or 10% of units need to be visitable. That means that just your front entranceway, hallway, and a bathroom are accessible. So someone in a wheelchair, walker, etc. could come visit you, but not necessarily have to live there. That's no good to have that dignity in housing and continue to live on, right? So this goes through the differences, and it talks about, the holistic, proactive, inclusive, how attractiveness, affordableness, and flexible. Universal design is so much more affordable than is accessible design, because accessible design is often built for one disability. So if the person currently living there has a mobility disability and you're putting all this in, and then your next person has vision disability, you have to go back and retrofit. So universal design does not require that retrofit. So I'm not going to read all this to you, but it's there to take a look at if you have some confusion, you're not sure. But here's the big one. And this is why we're in such a crap show around the world. We've not been proactive in housing. We build what we need when we need it. We need to be proactive, and universal design does that. It is a proactive approach to housing that says regardless of what happens, your house will work for you. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that why we build homes and develop equity in housing? I would hope so. Again, that accessible design, which sometimes people and especially disability organizations that are not as developed in their understanding of UD talk about accessible design. It is too conforming, it is too prescriptive, it is too incremental, it is too costly, and it's not a good solution, and we need to get away from it. At the bottom of this, there's some important information. It said the following guidance is not intended to replace building code requirements or CSA standards. However, it gives you some references to CSA standards within this guide pertaining to, and it talks about the accessible design for the built environment, the accessible design built environment from January of 2023, and the accessible dwellings regulations of January 2023. Because all provinces have agreed to adapt federal building code within 18 months of it passing. So these are now law anywhere in Canada, and you need to understand them better. And no, I do not expect you to just take my word on this. So here are some more resources, and great resources with information, videos, pictures. Some of them even have blueprints for you. The Homeless Hub is one, because in this is an area that really developed UD housing, and this is how they addressed homelessness, and it worked, because you didn't have to sit there and say, okay, well, we've got this person here, but they are in a wheelchair and we need to find housing for them, and we can't, and the shelters don't work, so we'll give them a tent for 8 years until we find the right place. Or, in New Brunswick, we like to put them in jails and things like that. It doesn't work. UD avoids this. The National League of Cities looked at UD and why it matters and why it is so important. The Accessible Housing Network of Canada, of which I'm a member, go to their homepage, take a look, all kinds of information there. Information on people who lived, 15, 20 years in a hospital. Think of the cost of that. Think of the loss of dignity and humanity of that because they needed to use a wheelchair. Not okay. There's also what's called the UD Project and Residential Universal Design Building Codes in the UD Project, the 7 Principles of UD in Application, and the Universal Design Network of Canada. Please go take a look at these pages, these sites, get the information. I can guarantee that after you take some time and learn about this, you're going to say, why have we not been doing this? Why are we not doing this? There is so much information out there. Why? Why? The answer is people don't like change, but this is a change that is proactive. It is not cost prohibitive. In fact, it is in the long run so much cheaper than doing nothing or continuing to build the way we do today. And we need people to be going to their housing corporations provincially or territorially, to their cities, to their governments, and saying, whoa, 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 why are you allowing anything to be built that is not universal design? The way building codes work in this country, and don't let someone tell you differently because they all like to point the finger at each other. Any municipality, any province can say, the building codes of Canada and the building codes we've adopted are this. The building codes are the bare minimum that we have to achieve. They can go update their building codes at any time and make them better. They absolutely can do that. Are you not worth more than the bare minimum? I think all Canadians are worth way more than the bare minimum. And when we look at housing and we say people are worth more than the minimum in this country, and everyone deserves access to housing, we start building UD, homeless encampments will be reduced because there will be proper housing available. Okay? A huge percentage of people that are homeless are people with disabilities, whether it's mental health, physical, etc. This is going to take so much pressure off that. This is going to take so much pressure off our hospitals. This is going to give our parents the ability to live with dignity. This is going to give people with disabilities the ability to live with dignity. When you take the percentage of Canadians with disabilities and the percentage of Canadians that are seniors, and just so we're clear, disabilities is a higher number, but when you add the two together, it's more than 50% of the population. We should just proactively now only be building universal design. Go take some looks at Australia and what they did and find out, why did this work so well? There's a reason it works. It works really well, and it's time that we start applying it. So thank you. This has been a long presentation. As I said, this is more very deep delve informational for people that are starting to learn more about this. Hopefully there are contractors listening and watching this, government officials that are watching this, and that are really going to push on universal design and UD. In the long run, we are all equal as Canadians. We are all deserving of a home, whether that home is a bachelor apartment or a large mansion. It depends, of course, on your finances and where you live and what you're able to do, and yada, yada, yada. But we all deserve to have a place we call home where we are safe. That means that our house will not hurt us, where we can get around, i.e. that you can get to your toilet safely, that you can open your kitchen, go into your kitchen, open a fridge safely, and where you can live your best life, live your life to the fullest. We are all equal and we all deserve this housing. And as housing continues to be an issue around the world, universal design is going to come out to be as the only solution. Let's get ahead of the game. You know, creative developers could find ways of building some of the prefab UD buildings that you could then sell to other countries down the line, right? Once we get Canada equipped and other countries are coming on board and going, ooh, yeah, that works. And you could sell your process to them and continue to make that money. Just saying. It creates housing that doesn't need updating as life changes. And again, go find someone who has brought their mom home to live with them, or the dad home, or wants to because of disability issues as they've aged, they've had a stroke or heart, anything, and they want to bring them home because they don't want them to go to long-term care. Ask them how long it took to get somebody in to help make these changes and what it cost. And then think, ooh, what if we had just built it that way in the first place? Wouldn't that be so much easier? And it allows everybody to live with dignity, whether you are a person with a disability, a senior, a veteran, a temporarily able-bodied individual, or someone who has been short-term injured and requires some devices to help them around. You get to live with dignity. And part of that is dignity to fail in our choices. Many people with disabilities have no choice, no say in where they live. They are told where they have to go because this is the only place that is wheelchair accessible in your community, or blah, blah, blah. We deserve the right to be able to say, I want to live here with friends, or I want to live in this community or this community. We can't do that. UD would allow that to happen. UD would allow your parents to choose where they want to live as life continues on. We need to allow people to have this choice. It is sorely missing in everybody's life right now. We need to change that. Universal design is the answer to so many things. It is cost efficient, it is proactive, and it is sorely needed throughout Canada. If you're a contractor, please consider becoming more versed, learning and doing this. If you are from a government, smarten up and start building this way. That's all there is to it. And if you are a person with a disability, a person with aging parents, a senior or about to be a senior going, I can't live in my house as I grow older, but what I can sell my house for is going to pay for a year in an apartment because prices are through the roof, etc., etc. Call your government, your provincial government housing office, the federal government housing minister, and say, why are we not building more in UD? Call them, email them, push it. and say, this is it, this is what we need, and don't give them any more options.